Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this podcast is for you. Recruiting is a battlefield where the rules keep changing and the chaos never stops. As the world shifted to remote work, real connection and unfiltered learning have never been more urgent. This isn't just a podcast, it's your survival guide. Welcome to the revolution, your digital bullpen.
Welcome, we have Erin Bogdanovich. I'm so excited to introduce Erin to everyone, or as I've always called her, E-Bogs, and we'll probably get into that a little bit. But before we do, please make sure you follow us on YouTube. We are on Spotify, LinkedIn. Make sure that you're liking us, following us. We want to hear from you. And if you want to hear about anything specifically, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
And if you don't share and like our stuff, we won't be able to spread our love in the community and form this coalition, this bullpen that we want. So smash that like button, smash it.
Paul will say it. Well, as I mentioned, we have the lovely Erin Bogdanovich, who's been in the recruiting world for 15 years in the professional staffing side. She's nearly done it all, from being an individual contributor to leading large teams to moving into strategy roles multiple times. And now as the VP of Innovation, focused on modernizing, digitalizing, and automating the recruitment process. She jokes about having at least 10 different jobs in her 15 years at the Decker Group, which has been such an amazing ride for her.
And you're with who now? We have to say the company you're with now. You're with Lee Hectarison.
Yeah,
LHH.
with LHH.
That's right.
Yes.
Recruitment Solutions.
Yes.
Yeah, which is still part of the Adecco Group, but moved around a couple times. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we all kind of grew up around the same time, where there was all these name changes, combinations, split offs, and all of that. But before we get started, I really wanted to share, because Erin and I had the opportunity to have a similar role. We grew up in recruiting in the same branch here in Phoenix. A little bit similar, but different paths. And then we kind of like merge around the strategic director days when we were reporting to Kathy Gans. And we just had so much fun traveling. I think we were pretty well known in the Newport Beach area, that airport, just traveling everywhere. Probably my favorite story of Erin is just my name, obviously Mirna, not super common, but we'd go to Starbucks. Erin, who you think is a super common, easy name, but we would just laugh all the time and take pictures of our Starbucks cups, because mine would be like Morena and hers would be like Erin. But yeah. There's all these weird fun, and we just thought it was like the funniest thing. Like, doesn't matter if you have an easy name, a difficult name to say. It didn't matter. It got butchered no matter what.
Oh my God, I love it.
E-Bogs and Meerkat doing some fun adventures.
Oh God, that nickname follows me to this day.
Meerkat.
Just so you know, Meerkat. If anybody, if you know, you know.
Even your last name, Mirna, Bombero. I mean, the mail came in and it was like Bombero, or who knows, like
they're like, it sounds better
Bogdanovich.
as
I mean,
Bombero.
I'm sure Bogdanovich doesn't. I mean, it's not a.
No, I mean, it's a mouthful. And, people usually like to reference, some Julia Roberts quote or something along the lines. And I'm like, not the same, but close. Yeah.
Same, but different.
Close. So close.
Different person.
Yeah, little different.
I love seeing your face, first off. I mean, we're all in Phoenix and we don't see each other enough, right? But I love that you are. Wait, you're not in Phoenix anymore.
I'm not in
She's not
Phoenix
in
anymore.
Phoenix.
No.
Yes, that's right.
But we were in Phoenix.
We were in
I was
Phoenix.
in Phoenix
Yes.
for a very long time. Yeah. Part of that
because you're up in
ride
the
here is-
Northwest right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle. So
Oh, I love
been
it.
here since 2017.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
See, this is how I'm old. I'm like, it was just
Amazing.
yesterday. We were all in. Okay,
It was just yesterday. I was thinking about it. It's like, holy smokes, I haven't been back since before I had the Munchkin. So
I know, you're a mom now, and he's in soccer. Yes. All those mom gene jokes we used to.
I haven't purchased any rompers, but the mom jeans and this, I'm one step away from a minivan these days with all the soccer matches I go to.
Oh my God.
I'm so happy for you and your family.
Well, Erin, I love that you're on our show. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. And I am going to start it off. I mean, first off, we all started as like on the phones, like we all answered phones too at one point,
Yeah.
right? And so
we're all office coordinators at one point.
hey,
Right?
can't
Yeah.
handle answering those phones. You got no business in staffing.
And we had a much longer name at the time. That was pretty name
Thank you
change.
for calling Agilon Accounting Principals, Parkledge and Paladin. How can I help you?
All one breath.
Yes, all one breath, as fast
Oh
as
my
you
God.
possibly
That required a whole day of training for that. But so you're obviously, tell us how you even fell into staffing, and then tell us a little bit what you're doing now.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think, I moved to Phoenix after graduating from the U of A, and Brant, my now husband, but boyfriend at the time, that all worked out, had a job opportunity in Phoenix. And so I moved up to Phoenix. Didn't have as much of a plan as he did, but I, started applying for jobs. And unbeknownst to me, I did apply for a job with Agilon, and I came in and interviewed. And, unbeknownst to me, the fact that it was a staffing agency. And so I wasn't the greatest candidate. So I did do my research before coming in. I'm like, oh, it's a staffing agency. It's a little bit different. But I went in and you guys set me out on a job interview and I got the job. And again, probably the worst candidate ever because I turned down the job.
Oh, we hate you kind of candidates. Damn.
Yeah. They're like, oh my God.
I'm not allowed to say no.
Well, and my recruiter at the time did a great job of asking me why I wasn't interested in the job. And it really was just, nonprofit world was not for me. I knew that it wasn't going to be exactly where I wanted my career to go. And so at that point, they're like, have you ever thought about staffing? And I don't think anyone ever thinks about staffing until somebody asks you that question. Have you thought about staffing? And so the next day I interviewed with Ryan Becker, and here I am. And so it really was kind of, it's not anything that when you're going to school or when you're, talking about career paths and like, oh, I'm going to give this a try and just, get my feet wet into the HR world with recruiting. And here I am. It's been a wild ride and it's been a lot of fun. And part of me loves the chaos. I love how fast paced the staffing industry is. I love how every day it's different. And so it's just really been, not what I expected when I walked into that office when I was, 22 years old and thinking that I had no clue what was going on with my life, but Sally Mae was going to come knocking soon. So I had to figure it out.
Oh, Sally Mae was a client of mine at one point, actually.
Yeah. She was.
I bet they were in Phoenix, but they were in
Shh, I never stole your
client. Sally Mae's happy with me now. We're on good terms. We have no terms. We're done.
and what a crazy ride. I mean, you've had so yeah. I mean, so what's your title now?
So I'm the VP of Innovation for LHH Recruitment Solutions in North America. So I support primarily the US because that's our biggest market. I do some work in Canada as well, but I'm really, the merging of taking all of my years in the business and managing people in the recruitment process day to day and blending that with technology and finding areas to improve that process and really, thinking about from a client, candidate, and colleague experience, but where do technology and recruiting meet and how do you make the recruiting process better with the aid of technology? Wow. So I really manage the front office systems from our partnership perspective. So, really having great relationships with our ATS vendors, with Salesforce, our CRM, any of our, add-on tools that we'll talk about later as well. Yeah. But any of those relationships, the business is playing a much more active role in what we want, how we'll adopt them, and how we'll actually use them in the business, as opposed to, probably 10 years ago, it was really like an IT push down approach with technology. And now it's more of a push in with IT and the business together with the colleagues in mind.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Well, I know we all, because we, grew up in the same company, we experienced different systems throughout the years. So that was always such an interesting aspect of oh, we're getting a new system. Cool. Does it do this? Does it do that? No. Okay. Well,
agility is coming.
Yeah, agility is coming. It came and went.
Yeah, we love a good system and implementation. And I do spend quite a bit of time
Yeah.
thinking about that, dreaming about system implementations and how we can make the next one better.
Yes.
So,
Well, I know at one point, you were, I think you started, if I remember correctly, like helping like schedule interviews for the teams, if I remember. And
yeah.
then you did a little bit of the front desk. We were on the same team recruiting. You were a staffing manager. And I think I was just more on the business development side. And I've gotten a chance to see you as a strategic director. But a lot of people, if they're thinking about getting into recruitment or they are in recruiting already, I think sharing your story of like how you got to where you're at today, really kind of showcases what you can really do with, I think, the mentality that you have, Erin.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've had, in my wide variety of roles, I've had a lot of really amazing leaders. And so they've, one of the things that I've learned is really around like just saying yes to stretch assignments, maybe things that you might not have seen yourself doing, but why not say yes, get some exposure. I think, having a well-versed background, even going to the front desk for, those 8 months in the throes of the recession.
Yeah, that's right.
Was a really great opportunity because I got to learn a lot about the operational side of our business and all of the behind the scenes things that happen in a candidate experience. And so just saying yes to opportunities as they come to you and just being open, because maybe people are seeing something as strength in you that you haven't seen in yourself yet.
Yeah. I love that. And it's interesting because you would never think, oh, I'm going to go into staffing and be a recruiter. And then you go to leadership route. And then now you're like driving technology and adoption and implementations. And you're like, but it just goes to show that in our business, there are so many career paths, right? And but it all starts from just knowing and being a steward of the product and the business, right? And I love that. So I love that. How are you bringing magic to what you're doing now? Like, what is the EBOG's magic potion that kind of like?
Yes.
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, I think that in the world of staffing and part of like the magic of what we're doing today is there's not a shortage of problems to solve. There really aren't. Especially with recruiters, if you ask them, they can have a whole list of them for you. But really being able to hone in on what is the most impactful problem to solve, what's going to really change the way of working for the majority of people, and where, from a collaboration perspective, is how do you take all the different avenues of problem solving, collaboration, and coming up with a solution? Because I think often we can get into these spirals of the problem, but not coming out with a solution. And 1,000%. So we're really, really good at saying this is broken. We're not so great at saying problem, this is how we're going to fix it. And this is how we're going to teach the recruiters to fix it. And this is how it could be different. And so, leaning into the solution has really been kind of eye-opening for me. I mean, if there isn't a solution to be had, then you have to move on until you're ready to talk about one. And so, that solution is going to look different the more people that you bring to the table to talk about it, which is an amazing thing. It's just the collaboration piece of it. So,
well, we're diving into technology in a little bit because I know there's a wealth of information in that EBOG's brain of yours. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it a bit ago, Erin, that you've just had some amazing leaders, help you throughout your career. But what's one leadership blunder maybe you see all the time in staffing?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've seen some doozies. I mean, you can't without being here for as long as we all have been, right? And I think that the inability to connect with your staff as a leader and not understanding what motivates them is different than what motivates you is probably the biggest leadership blunder, because I think anything can be solved through connection. And so understanding the motivators of each person that you're working with and how to pull out the best in them is really, you can't assume that everyone's going to think the same way and that is motivated by the same things that you're motivated by. And so, it took me a while to when I first was the division director, and gosh, this is 2011, 2012, I want to say, I assumed everyone was as money motivated as me, and that's what everyone wanted to do.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
give me money, pay my bills, right? So buy me nice things. But no, I mean, that's not the motivator of everybody. And
Yeah.
so you just have to really get to know your people and learn what
Mhm.
that is. And if you can find the way to motivate them, then you're going to be able to elevate them.
Yeah.
I love that because that's what, it's funny. We were talking with JD earlier and she was talking a little bit about how you have different people and you have to embrace their weird, right? And what makes them a little off and or what drives them. And to your point, it's like somebody might, just because you're not money motivated, while it is a benefit in the industry, it doesn't mean you can't be successful, right? And it's just making sure. Yeah. So obviously you've solved a lot of problems, still probably figuring out how to solve many
My
problems.
list is still very long.
So what is like you think the coolest thing that you're super proud of that you came up with to tackle like a big problem, either in your leadership life or in your, tech life? We can go either way with this.
Sure. I think, we have some really interesting questions that are thrown our way all the time in a technology perspective. So wouldn't it be nice if we could do this? Or wouldn't it be nice if technology could do that?
Oh my God, every day. Can it do this?
Like, can we just have every job that we ever enter into the system just post to the internet? I mean, these are great. These are great ideas, right? And so I really think from a biggest problem that we can solve, it's really just breaking them down into manageable pieces. And again, focusing on what we can do today. And so I think the commitment and the redirection to our roadmap, like these are the goals that we agreed to as a team that are going to be the most impactful for our company today and long term. Thinking through, we started on this roadmap last year. So 2023 is our roadmap to 2025. So we had a 2-year strategy plan. In the world of staffing, we can all easily get distracted by the next shiny thing, the next shiny problem. And so like having that source of truth, these are really the wigs. I heard you and Kathy talk about the wigs not too long ago. So I mean, the wigs still resonate with me, all the important goals, and that's our roadmap. And really, the 80-20 rule, if it's a low-hanging fruit that we can solve the shiny problem, but we really got to focus on the roadmap. And so if we allow ourselves to become distracted in technology, especially with how fast it's moving, we will never make progress. We'll still just be talking about what we can do and not doing. So
that's interesting because like you think about the like technology itself, like we're always trying to get the new technology, right? And but when sometimes it's like that technology that we have today, which is super cool, we still haven't mastered it. If we all mastered it and did what we needed to do, it's like don't even worry about that new tech. Let's just really focus on this because it's good, right? And it can solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, the adoption of tech.
Yeah. Well, in true technology, it's changing like every 6 months to a year, if not sooner, in certain aspects of whatever technology you're talking about. Because phone technology would be very different than ATS technology, but it is changing. So I do agree that you kind of have to like master it before you can, move on to
graduate.
the next. Yes.
A lot of even my own colleagues, but a lot of organizations, I mean, we can go down some analysis paralysis a little bit. And the fear of, because technology is moving so quickly, you're almost like afraid to make a decision because what if the next best thing that's even better comes out in 30 days and you're in the midst of implementing now the second or third best solution. And so there is a little bit of fear of, especially
having buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse, and because everything is moving so fast right now. And so, if you pull the trigger too soon or not soon enough, I mean, there's a fine line there. But I think that the takeaway is that you have to do something. You can't be afraid because you can always improve. But like at some point, you're going to be really left behind if you don't get on. Get on
something. Get on something.
For sure.
Get on something, right? Like if you're still using an Excel spreadsheet, oh my gosh, like you are going to be left
companies
behind.
doing that.
Yes, there are, and this was something too that I was excited for you to share because, throughout all our years of recruiting, we know so many people that have started their own staffing firms. And I recently was asked, my personal opinion on certain systems and this, and I'm like, look, the one thing I advise you is definitely use a system because even if it's just you today, you still want that house so that it makes not only your job easier, but then you can kind of like bring people. And that's like at a bare minimum, right? Like the basics of like staffing and recruitment. So
Yeah.
And you really have to buy into that system and use that system from the very beginning, even if you are a shop of one, but
yeah.
thinking about where you're going to be with a team of
Yep.
5 and how you're going to
Yes.
utilize the system. And
Yeah.
really, Sean Campbell on our team, who you guys all know very well, says that that's, you have to hook your future self up, right? And
oh, yeah, that's his tagline.
Yeah, like if you exactly. I mean, you can document so well or not at all because you have a photographic memory and you remember your candidates, but they're not going to come up in your searches for other people. And so really just like thinking about how you're going to use data and systems and all of that at the early stages until it's going to be key.
God. Data that and that's something there too. Like data, if you don't have great data, technology is not going to do crap for you. And that is like, it's you might as well just don't like start. You have baby steps.
Baby steps. We have spent the last 2 years with our primary focus around data because if you don't have data in a way that's usable, we can buy all the shiny tools, but we can't do anything with them because we don't have the data just doesn't magically appear.
No, and it's got to be consistent. It's got to be consistent.
We need minimal data to support the technology.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'd love to hear, your thoughts on this, but because I'm going back to the leadership and we had a very similar leadership, but what's been some of the best leadership advice you've ever received? And then on the flip side, maybe what's like the worst?
Yeah. I think from the best that's really resonated with me is you have to build a reputation and you have to be reliable. And reliable in our industry isn't about showing up on time. Are you going to call out sick? Are you going to, not be committed? Being reliable means so much more around, can your team members count on you? Do you put out quality work? Are you somebody that can be trusted? Are you somebody that is going to bring good ideas to the table? And reliable is really about kind of creating that reputation of how you want to be known in your company and even outside of your company. As you guys know, it's a small world. We all kind of network out there. So I think reliability and just knowing if you have this type of problem, Erin's the type of person that you want to go to and talk about it with, or, you need this type of thing solved for, or you need help here. Create that reliable reputation so people can become the subject matter expert in whatever that is, right? And so for me, like before technology, it was branch operations. Like I ran a highly effective branch. And so, Myrna, you were really great at training salespeople. And so you were the person that we would call to have, bring our sales people and elevate them up. And so there's, everyone has their own reputation and the reliability of that reputation.
Yeah.
And so I think, I was at a meeting with one of our former presidents that said that is like, reliability. And he even had some anecdotes around like how he's, called on certain people because he knows that they're reliable. And so to me, that really just stuck with me. And being in the temp world, we think about reliables if they're going to show up or not. And it's so much more.
It's a little bit more convoluted. Yes.
The worst piece of advice, I don't know if I don't know if I've been given directly bad advice. I've seen bad or questionable leadership style. But, as far as like being directly given bad advice, I think part of that is just, knowing who you are and what advice really resonates with you. And so, I had a, leader that, wanted me to work on my empathy, and it wasn't bad advice. It was just the wrong time for me. And so it wasn't, because now I look back at it and like, oh, that was the right advice, but it just wasn't at a time when I could receive it and implement it because of everything else. There were other priorities at the time. And so but here I am now. I believe I'm a very empathetic leader.
You make a good point though, because I think in leadership, you have to be aware of what your employees are capable of and where they're at in their roadmap. Right. And it's like, we all know where we want them to be, but sometimes as a leader, you could be giving them something that they're, to your point, they're just not ready for. And it's like, and then that leader's going to get frustrated because you didn't absorb it. And now you have conflict. Right. And it's like, that could be, I could see that. So
and you can't lead in the same way that you can't expect them to lead in the same way that you are yourself leading. And so not everyone can be a cookie cutter. And so everyone has a different leadership style. And so I think that's where it came to me is like, so it wasn't bad advice. It was just like, well, I'm not the carbon copy of you. I need to have my own leadership style. And part of that is, blending in personal relationships and everything, but just in a different way. It might not present the same way. So.
Totally.
But what I love about what you said too is, I think if I remember correctly, like you were a division director, maybe for API, and maybe I was the DD for Agilon, and to kind of see you from that standpoint. I mean, you think about it, we were like super young. I can't believe people even trusted me personally with other people and shit. I try to manage you too, Erin. I mean, I'm sure you have your thoughts around that, but like as time happens, as life happens, we change and we evolve. And like you said, if that advice wasn't at the right timing, it was still something that you kind of kept in your mind to like when you were ready to like implement. And I do think that, it's so easy to like, oh, I had this manager that did this or this and that, but we also have to like humanize the other leader as well as ourselves and just kind of see it for what it is. It's like a time and space. And, we were who we were at that time, but we're obviously very different today. The evolution.
Well,
absolutely.
Let's talk about evolution now, because this is where your sweet spot is in this world. That was a really good segue, Mirna. Thank you.
I did it on purpose.
Just brilliant, this woman here. So I'm going to actually take the next two questions and kind of bring them together, because I think that like, we always talk about AI and then we talk about technology and how it's going to transform our industry. I mean, if you've gone to any of the SIAs or you've gone to online forums, you are just, you're assaulted with all these companies and what they can do for you, right? And so how do you really see technology and AI impacting the people on the desk, the recruiters, the people that are doing the everyday job? Like where do you see that really impacted? And then I'm also going to ask you, like, what's something that you don't think it can replace?
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI is a game changer. I do think that the recruiters and the salespeople that embrace AI are going to be the ones that are most successful. I think that, what it's going to replace is just the tasks that take time away from our responsibilities and the things that we enjoy the most, like actually talking to candidates and talking to clients. It's going to make more time available to do those activities because we're not focused on documentation or crafting the right email or, doing complex searches for candidates in the database. Like AI is going to be able to make us move faster in time consuming behind the scenes tasks so that way we can be in front of candidates and clients even more, which is really where every recruiter and salesperson wants to be.
Oh my God, that's all we want to do. Yeah. I don't want to call plan.
I mean, we think about the data entry, the data integrity of our systems, right? Like if we can have AI help us with that, I mean, that's a game changer right there, because it's not that recruiters don't care. It's just that recruiters prioritize other things. And so, but I think where AI is and technology are different is that technology is it's going to be empowered by AI, but they're not interchangeable in the sense that AI is going to replace technology and it's not going to replace recruiters. It's just AI is going to be layered into the things that we do to do it even better. And we're going to have to learn new skills. Like we had to learn Boolean searches. Now we're going to be learning prompts and how to, be bossy with Copilot, as my coworker likes to say. And so, we just have to tell it what we want, and it's a game changer in that sense. And so if we can allow recruiters and salespeople to just talk to people and free up more time to build relationships, that's going to be huge in our industry.
Yeah.
I love it. That's the goal. I mean, if you, then your people are doing, I mean, now you're coaching people to build better relationships, and you're coaching people to be better stewards of with your clients, and not, did you do 100 dials?
No, because no one's answering my calls.
But it is interesting because, I mean, we all grew up in the time where, you had to, what is it like? dial 300 to get 100 to get like whatever
15 interviews. Yeah, 15 interviews, 300 to
and
100 conversations to 15 interviews. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
And it's like the conversations still need to be done. But how can you when you're doing the sourcing, the Boolean searching, the messaging, the follow-up messaging, the text messaging? I think you and I did a training once that from like start to end, if everything works out perfectly, it takes up about 8 hours of your day, like just whether it's like rewriting the job, posting, to the sourcing, to the interviewing, to all of that. And I think that is the behind the scenes that that aren't recruiters don't see, is all these little tasks that take up so much of your time, which is why you have to call, plan, and be like fully prepared, which is still I still in my own way call, plan. I mean, Paul knows this. I'm like, I'm busy. I'm in my block right now. But it is easier to do your day when you have those little helpers along the way.
Yeah.
Yes, little assists. Like I created a marketing plan for a candidate who is a little bit outside of our scope using Chat GPT, and just said like, this is the company this person works for, like help me find. And I had to prompt it a couple different times, a couple different ways. And it's like, boom, these companies came up, and then it told me, this is why this candidate would be good for this role. And this is why this one would be for this company. And it was like, oh my God. And then Friday I did my little calls and still following up, but it was like so much faster and so much more accurate. And I didn't have to go into LinkedIn and then like their website and then their careers page. And it was just like seamless to some extent.
So let me ask you a question. If there was 3 or 4 technologies that are happening today that you think every company should adopt in staffing, what are those 3 or 4? Without giving away any of your secret sauce, or maybe 2.
Yeah,
I will tell Lori.
We don't have a lot of secret sauces because we are very open with our vendor relationships. I mean, the Adecco Group is very proud of the relationships that we've cultivated with our partners. And so, most recently we announced that we are entering into a relationship or partnership, I should say, with Microsoft. And so they are really looking at, where does AI and Copilot and the Microsoft product of, everything that they do is amazing. How can that help us in the recruitment industry? And so we're doing some really amazing things with technology through Microsoft right now.
Great.
We also recently entered into a partnership to expand our agreement with Salesforce. And so Salesforce there's a reason why they're the #1 CRM. And so they're doing some really amazing things. And I think, a lot of people left Dreamforce a couple of weeks ago a little scared about AI. You mentioned about like replacing recruiters, and you might have seen some viral videos about how Salesforce is going to replace the agent with their AI bots. And I don't think that that's ever going to happen. I think there's always going to have to be a person at the end of it. But, they're doing some really cool things with Einstein, which is just their version of AI. And then, but I think that really, and then search and match, like you have to invest in a really thorough and robust search and match in our industry. And so we have some really great search and match partners that are looking at ways to expand that with AI as well. And so
I love it.
Where our recruiters don't have to go and actually type in the types of advanced searches, and how do we automate that? How do we enter in a job order from a client and have, a bunch of candidates actually just show up that are already in our database that are on track, or the reverse. Like we have a really great candidate to what Meredith was doing. Now here are all the job orders, because we work for a very large company. And so we don't know every job order that's open in our system. And
especially
so
now that we're remote, there's so many opportunities.
I mean, there's sticky notes of job orders that are sitting on people's homes offices.
So the
trusty, reliable job order post-it note.
The most reliable job order form of all time. Well, really, again, I think, going back to the partnerships with the vendors, I mean, I really think that there's some really great tools out there. We're really proud of our relationships with Salesforce and Microsoft, and of course Bullhorn too, along the way. So
I love it. Awesome.
What would you say to people that are getting into recruiting or already in recruiting? about technology and how
Oh
they
my
can like
goodness,
really
yeah.
use that.
I believe that for somebody to be really successful in ramping up in the recruitment industry today is that they have to be technology forward, because
Mm.
you cannot compete against a recruiter that's been here for 10 years that has the Rolodex the size of a small phone book of networks that
Yeah.
is, your advantage and how you can get up to speed the fastest is going to be your embracing of technology and just being more efficient and faster and using technology to be better. And so if you don't adopt it and you could think that there's workarounds, there's not. Like
Yeah.
you really have to embrace it for sure.
I love it.
The workarounds.
The workarounds, don't just make your Excel spreadsheet about your candidates.
Yeah. And do a quick sort. Is that the work?
Yeah. Your workaround is a filter. Search for help.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, outside of like Erin being an amazing leader and obviously spearheading innovations for North America for Lee Hecht Harrison, let's get to know Erin a little bit more. So, Erin, what's your guilty pleasure to like decompress after a long day of like talking technology, doing technology, all that stuff?
Yeah, I wish I had a lot of time to decompress, but as we talked about prior to the podcast kicking off, I'm a little busy, being the soccer mom that I am these days.
Yes.
So I usually am running around, but decompressing. I mean, we do have, my family, they're amazing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun with my husband and my son, and we have a new dog, Penny. She's about 4 months old. So there's a lot of laughter and a lot of chaos in my house.
Yes.
But so I really look to them to keep me grounded and help me unwind.
What kind of puppy?
She's a boxer.
Oh my God, so much energy.
She's so cute.
So much energy.
She is a lot.
Well, good for you. Adding more chaos to the chaos.
Yeah, why not?
So I don't even want to ask the next question because I don't know. When's the last time you had time to binge watch a show?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, I did. So
okay, there we go.
She's like, I do have time to binge watch though.
No, I don't really. But Brant and Declan, they went camping by themselves 2 weeks ago. So I had 2 nights on a weekend to myself. And this is the first time that I've ever I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this quiet? So I binge watched that new, oh my gosh, the new Netflix show, Nobody Wants This.
Oh my God, I've been seeing that. Is it okay? Should I watch it?
Oh, I want to
good?
watch that. It's on my list.
It's so adorable. It's so adorable. I mean,
Okay.
I watched, so I highly recommend it. It's funny. It's very timely as far as just a lot of, things that are happening in the world. And so I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Lots of good chuckles.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'll have to start that soon. It's on my list.
It's an easy watch too, because they're short episodes, half an hour.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
You don't have to carve out Game of Thrones times for it.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Just so I've never watched a Game of Thrones.
Oh my God,
in my life. It's too late now. I can't.
No, it's not. It's not too late. It's never too late.
You definitely have to commit because the storylines are just so in depth, and so it's not a show that you can watch in passing or while multitasking. And you have to watch, be committed. So it's good, but it's a lot.
Well, what's a random stuff that's currently living on your nightstand?
Oh goodness. So I read every night before I go to bed. So I have my Kindle. So that's definitely
what are you reading?
Yeah.
What's right now? What's your favorite book that you want to recommend?
I just finished The Women by Kristen Hanna, and she does a lot of historical fiction, but she's very don't read it unless you want to just cry. She's one of those
so you're in bed at night just crying,
crying before she goes to bed.
I read one of her other books called The Nightingale, and it was a World War II and you just cry the entire time. But The Women is a really powerful story around the women that served in Vietnam, typically as nurses. Just that whole experience of the the whole Vietnam vet era where PTSD wasn't really acknowledged at the time, and the support system. But then you also had the women that were there that were really acknowledged for their service, and just her journey. It was really, really good. So
All right,
10
we'll
out
have
of
to
10
check it out.
recommend just have a Kleenex because
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah.
you go through it with that book.
I can be imagined I'm in bed, I'm crying, and PJ's like, "What'd I do?" I'm like, "No, it's not you."
Nothing. It's just such a great book.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
it's on like the New York Times bestsellers. I mean, she's a great author. She's really
Check it out.
yeah, she's a good one.
I love that.
Well, and I love to end with a little bit of gratitude. And so, what is maybe one thing that's filling your heart with gratitude right now?
Oh my gosh, I am just so excited about where there's two things. One, professionally, just
Okay.
where we're going in recruitment today. I think, we
Mhm.
have a lot of untapped avenues from a technology perspective, and I really feel super supported by the company in a way that they're wanting to embrace that. There isn't any
Mhm.
resistance to embracing technology and changing the status quo. And so for that, I'm entirely grateful for this opportunity to go out there and do that and be able to spend
Yeah.
time, solving the big problems. Um, personally, I'm really, really grateful for just the time of fall and spending time with my family.
Yes.
And we're just going into, the football season, Thanksgiving season, which is always a really
Yeah.
big to do at my house. We always have a full house during Thanksgiving. And so,
I love it.
yeah, so I'm just really thankful that we get to, do all that this fall and being so close to family in the meantime. So.
I
That's so
love it.
good.
And
Erin, I
pumpkin
love
spice
it.
lattes. It's pumpkin spice everything time.
Yeah, I made some pumpkin spiced white Russians last Thanksgiving, and
Okay,
so
now we're
that was
talking.
yeah, that was pretty good.
Hey, if you
I mean,
can't put it in
we are
booze,
more of
it's
the
not worth
boozy
it.
Thanksgiving family, and we're not like the 5K Thanksgiving family.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
There's
it.
two types of families in the world, and we're the boozy type.
I
I like
that's
it.
that's my kind of family.
Yeah.
Well, Erin, oh my God, thank you so much for spending time with us today and like such good shit. I can't wait to get
Yeah.
this out for the world to see. And
Yes.
so excited to see what you do with the technology innovation. I, of course, will be following you closely and because I love what you guys always do and I'm such a
Yeah.
fan.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Have a great day. We'll see you
Thank
later.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Erin.
Bye.